News in English in collaboration with Rai Italia. Today's top stories. The death of Pope Francis at 9:47 yesterday morning, the announcement that surprised the world. Today, the Vatican released a photo of the pontiff in an open casket in the chapel of Santa Marta. The Holy Father was dressed in a red robe with a white mitre on his head and a rosary in his hand. His body will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow so that the faithful can pay their respects to him. The funeral will be held on Saturday, April 26th at 10 o'clock a.m. and celebrated by Cardinal Re. He will be laid to rest in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore in accordance to the wishes he expressed in his last will and testament. Details from Alessandro Carboni.
Con profondo dolore devo annunciare la morte del nostro Santo Padre Francesco.
And that's how, at 9:47 a.m., Cardinal Camerlengo Kevin Farrell officially announced the death of Pope Francis, which had occurred about 2 hours earlier at 7:35 a.m. in his apartment at Casa Santa Marta, where he had returned on March 23rd after a 38-day hospitalization at the Gemelli Hospital. And so crowds of worshippers, tourists, and TV crews from all over the world are beginning to pour in, filling St. Peter's Square. At noon, the tolling of the bells of all churches in the capital marks the morning. At Easter, the unexpected visit to St. Peter's Square amongst the worshippers until his final breath.
I'm shocked because I was here yesterday at Mass and I saw the Pope and he looked just so fragile, you know?
Of course, we were conscious of his age, and we did say perhaps this might be his last time to appear in public.
The death report released by the Vatican Press Office speaks of a brain stroke followed by a coma and a cardiovascular arrest. In the evening, the suffrage mass for the pontiff was held in the Basilica of St. John Lateran, overcrowded for the greeting of believers and tourists. In a silent St. Peter's Square, families, young people, and tourists, along with many orders of nuns, then the rosary and a great applause at the end. The seals will be affixed at Casa Santa Marta for the first time in another place besides the apostolic apartment in the Vatican Palace. The Pope's coffin is already in the chapel of Santa Marta. Then there will be the funeral ritual, as simple as St. Francis himself arranged in his will. Just as simple as will be the tomb guarded in the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore, where Francis went to pray before and after each apostolic journey.
With the death of Pope Francis, the long and solemn protocol that accompanies the passing of the baton at the head of the Roman Catholic Church has officially begun. The congregation will lead to the election of the 267th pontiff. The opening of the conclave will begin between May 5th and 10th. Details from Aldo Anziano.
Throughout these hours of mourning, the Catholic Church is already in motion with its ancient ritual. Farrell announced his death. Then the deposition of the body, a liturgy simplified by Bergoglio. Burial will no longer be in the Vatican caves, but in the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome, home of the icon of the Virgin Mary Silas Popoli Romani, and a place of special Dean Giovanni Battista played due to a funeral ceremony of the funeral day, which the cardinals out in chapel, the start of the conclave.
National mourning for the new pontiff for the funeral. In his last will and testament, Pope Francis asked to be buried in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, near the icon of the Virgin Salus Popoli Romani. Yesterday, the church bells rang. It is a place particularly dear to him, where he went to pray upon returning from his many travels and after the hospitalization that kept him at the Gemelli for 38 days. On the tombstone, only his name, Franciscus, will be written. Details from Lorenzo di Las Plazas and Alessandro Stefanoni.
Salus Popoli Romani, icon of the Virgin Mary that tradition says was painted by the evangelist worshipped by Pope Peter not even a month ago, though he stayed in his car. Intermittent bells announced the Pope's death. The Vatican flag is a half-mast outside the queue of visitors moving inside the only major basilica. The Holy Cradle, our precious relic inside the only major basilica, have been preserved in its early Christian layout. Buried saints and geniuses of the arts, Bernini, father and son, and as many as 7 popes, 2 in the same chapel that Pope Francis chose for his burial beneath Guido Reni's frescoes. www